Hi everyone, and it's been some time we all connected, and good to see you all gathering here with us today. And just to go ahead with this session, would like to give you a heads up. If you have any queries, if you have any queries, please do post that in chat box, and we can make it more interactive. And I'll be happy to hear back from you and make this a successful session. So let's open up with data protection against ransomware attack. I think ransomware, the term has been significantly increasing day by day across the globe. And whenever we open the Twitter or LinkedIn or anywhere, we are seeing there is a ransomware attack somewhere or the other happening. So having heard about it frequently, let's get into how does it come, and what is actually a ransomware is, and where is it coming from, and how does it work, and what are the different types of ransomware attacks that we have, and what is the cost involved, and what is the impact to business. So that's quite overview about the session. And what is a ransomware? We are hearing on a day-to-day basis, what is a ransomware? It's nothing but it's a kind of a threat, and a kind of a malware which completely influences the system that we are working on, through an email, or that we say a phishing email, or our data being encrypted, or our applications are completely stopped working, from where we become a victim by the where the hackers try to threaten us to pay them a ransom to get their to get our access back into system, or to recover our data from getting exposed in the media. Because exposing in the media, when I'm mentioning, there is a lot of client or the personal data that is getting thefted, and that is going on sales in the media. That's become a big business nowadays. If the ransomware is not paid, then it goes for business. But how does it work, and do we if it do does it really stop when we are going to pay a ransom? That we look in down the lane. Now, so what some quick pointers or facts that we have to know about ransomware attacks before we get into the session is 37% of the organizations have been widely hit in 2020. And when I say 37% of the organizations, so where does this, or what type of organizations were hit? So the two important organizations which is under the threat, and it's been happening vigorously, is government offices, government, and healthcare. Healthcare has become predominantly being exposed and getting hacked in a significant manner, especially during the COVID. So the ransomware attacks has gone to such an extent that when there was a recent meeting in between Biden and Rotnik of Russia, the first thing that came into discussion is, or the top five in the discussion is, cybersecurity, because that's the level of threats, and that's the level of vulnerabilities that is spreading across globally. So how much time does it take if a ransomware attack is going to hit us, and how much time it does take to recover? Is an average downtime, it's as per the Gartner and the ICA reports, it's 21 days minimum it takes for us to come out of the downtime. And the average days to become normal or normalize the business is 287 days that you see in this picture here. So and also the ransom, or the money that has been demanded by the cyber criminals or the perpetrators or the hackers, different terms that they use, has significantly increased for the past 2 years. From in 2020, compared to 2019 and 2020, it has increased nearly 315%. So you'll see in the following slides, it was around $115 million on an average in 2019, and in 2020 it has increased above $382 million. So that's the kind of high demand, and high threatening that has increased in the market. So how much how are the cyber criminals succeeding in by attacking our business, and what are the weak areas, how we can safeguard ourselves? We'll just go get into the next slide, and you can see what we need to know about ransomware before we see how it works. So First, there are different means of which the ransomware attacks happen. First and foremost is using the emails, the phishing emails. So when we're referring to phishing emails, on an average, or on a to be very precise, it happens nearly 80 to 83% due to internal threats. The ransomware attacks happen. When a phishing email is happen, 1 in 4 especially open the emails, open the attachment, because how much ever we are trying to educate our employees and trying to tell them they should not open any kind of attachment or links in an unknown email, unknown user they receive the email from. But still 1 in 4 users open that, because it is the cyber attackers or the criminals are so intelligent that the mails that is ending up, or that is delivered in our mailboxes, are so similar to our company emails. Okay, so that is one thing that we have to be aware about. And FBI has spent around $1 billion, according to $1 billion have been paid so far for the ransomwares that has been raised so far. So that is one huge amount, or huge impact to the business that has been happening. And 80%, 81% of the cyber security forecast that from 2020, in between from 2017 to 2025, there would be it will be reaching $3 trillion on the impact or the loss to the businesses, in case if we are not going to have the necessary steps taken, or the necessary controls are in place on the safeguard our business and protect the environment. It's going to increase significantly from what we are today to 3 trillions by 2025. So that is one thing we have to keep in mind. And others self-explanatory, some of the important things that I would like to give you a heads up on. Now, moving on, what are the common concerns that the organizations or the teams are having in their mind? And what is causing this effects is nothing but on the increase that I was just referring to from 2015. Like if you see $325 million, now it is going to $20 billion as on 2021. And by 2025, as I was saying, the increase is not going to stop. It is foreseen or expected to cross 3 trillion. Okay, that is one of the major concern that they have. And not only with the money, but also with the repetition and the impact to the business. Because what is happening is, the hackers are not only approaching the company, where the data is encrypted or locked, or they are unable to, they have to definitely shut down their system. They are not only dealing with the companies, but also they are reaching out to the clients nowadays. In case our company is down and we are unable to recover, we are trying all means, using the backup or using whatever controls that we have enabled. We are trying our best to recover business. But when we are working on it, the criminals try to give us approach us and give us some time. In case we still taking time and we are not responding to the criminals, they are parallelly approaching the clients. We most of the times, unless it is required, we always do the root cause and then reach out to the clients. We don't just let them know once we are impacted, right? It always has its timelines defined, and a methodology that all our organizations have. But the criminals doesn't stop with only contacting us. They also started contacting the clients, which has become a major concern nowadays from the ransomware attacks. Okay, and if you see with the ransomware attacks that has happened so far, 73% of the data has not been restored, and after paying the ransom, they are able to restore, but it is not permanent. Because that is also the common concern that is rising in the market. Because it's not that if we pay the ransom to the criminals, our data is restored and we are safe permanently. No, a second attack also happened within a period of time. That there are some of the samples that I've added in this presentation that you can have a look at. So that is also becoming a common concern. And last but not the least, another common concern is on the people, on the competency that we have in our company, in our organization, and also in the market. Because the competency levels are are not meeting to the current standards, and we have to really focus on the competencies that we have in with the employee, especially the employees that we are working, or the teams that we are working with. They have to be competent enough to face such attacks, to understand and identify what could be the threat and how do have to be handled and who should be involved and how it has to be closed. That awareness is missing, and that is also being a major concern in the market now. Okay, so and this one more, not from the more than the concern, more than the regulatory demand, right from data privacy perspective, example GDPR or PIPEDA or CCPA, which is globally, there are different regulatory or privacy acts that we have, including India PDPP that we have. The regulators have started demanding on a high they have started demanding at a high cost, that in case if something goes wrong, and if there is any miss in on our controls, and if the data is breached or data is lost, there is a huge penalty as well, which is also a major concern that we have to keep in mind while we are designing our network. So having said that, coming back to what are the common attacks, how are the criminals, what are the methodologies they're using to attack our data or our network, is first is social engineering, the phishing emails and the phishing calls. The social engineering, compared to the others, let me tell you, social engineering has become one of the major one of the frequent attacks, I could say, in the market, because it's as per the media today, 83% of the ransomware attacks or any kind of data that is getting exploited or lost is due to this phishing emails and phishing calls. Okay, so to give you an example, when you're when you're getting any kind of emails or any kind of calls specifically, you have to be really cautious, because the attackers or the cyber criminals doesn't call us on a random basis or just for the sake of talking to us, but there is always a back end there. They do a homework, they know about our network, and they talk to you as a friend, and as they already know about you. So please be cautious about in accessing to any emails or attending any calls. Okay, that's one. And in fact, infected removal media is another. We I'm seeing most of the organizations have a policy of removable media, where they have definitely disabled the access to any media, any USB or pen drive kind of connections. But still, if it is available, you will have to look into that, because that is also one of the way in where the attackers are focusing or trying to attack the systems. And others being web exploits or unsafe web browsing, and if there is any softwares, or for example, even IAM, the access controls, if we are using only outdated IAM IAM controls, and we are using only a ping identity or SS active directory, a basic access controls, also it's become so easy for the hackers or the criminals to hack our systems. We have to ensure that we are upgrading ourselves to the current the IDAM or the digital identity that we are coming up with. The MFA has become one of the important requirement in our systems, and that's where all the organizations are moving towards using CyberArk and SailPoint, because the access controls and the password management, the password issues also have become one of the major concerns, using which the attackers are hacking our systems. So these are all the common ways of how the criminals are looking for or focusing on attacking. So just to keep in mind. And how does a typical ransomware attack happen, and how does it end? So this is a flow of how a ransomware attack happens. To give you a heads up, it is self-explanatory, as we were just discussing. First and foremost, there is an email that is delivered in our inbox, which is very similar to our corporate email. So once we open the email, there is an attachment or a link to click on for people to understand, or our employee to update any details or to understand anything. So once they click on that, so that is the key for the hackers. So once they click on that, the system gets hacked, or the criminal gets access to our system. And once he get access to our system, he just enters our system and locks or encrypts all the data through the applications that we are using, or the server, no, the data where the server where the data are stored. They try to lock or encrypt the data. So once they encrypt the data, there is the complete access is stopped, and the our on a day-to-day business gets impacted. We are not able to go ahead with our business. So that's when we get a call, or whoever is in the organization would get a call. It might be an employee who would get, or a manager who could get. It even includes some of the cases, even the CFO or the CEO of the company gets a call from the criminal on a demand for a ransom. So if the if the victim pays, the attackers get into, or just releases or unlocks the data that they have encrypted or that they have locked. And if you don't pay, what happens is they just take the data that they have thefted, and take it to the market for sales. And that is a bigger impact, because once the data is exposed in the market, and it is sold, then right from the repetition of business to running our business will become a big challenge. So this is typically how a ransomware attack happens. So that there are different types of ransomware attacks. These are some samples that I've given here. So how do we how does a mail look? How do we receive? On the left hand side you see, and on the right hand side how the data is encrypted is a screenshot that I've given here for your reference. Okay. And moving on, what is the cost of ransomware attacks, and what are all the type of impacts that we have to face in the business? Is nothing but, if you see on the left hand side, how right from the data breaches, or the ransomware attacks, how it has been increased on an average on a year-to-year basis. That is given on the left hand side. But if you just get into at our attack specific, an attack has occurred in our network. So what will be the different or significant impacts? That's given on the right hand side. If you see, first is the loss of data and information, because once lost, we are not sure will we be able to recover the data, or will it going to be a permanent solution if we are going to pay the ransom, or if it's going to be temporary. That's one huge cost that we'll have to face in case the data is lost. Second is the employee downtime and loss of production, because once our data is locked or encrypted, we are not, the complete IT system is shut down. The recent one which happened in June that I can quote here is the Irish hospital. It has a lot of subsidiaries are there, and lot of chain of hospitals they have. Okay, so it happened so that once the a ransomware attack had it, attack happened in their network, their complete IT shutdown happened. Okay, they were unable to recover or respond to that attack, and they tried to try using the backups to recover their data. They were trying all means with the existing controls, but they were not able to do. It's been 3 to 4 weeks down, but still their system IT is on a complete shutdown. And they are even the patients there are this radiologies, and they have that chemotherapies happening, right? They are using only a pencil and pen. Using a pencil and pen, based on the doctor who treated the patients, they are based on their memory, they are trying to treat the patients, which is definitely a big threat, right? A big threat in healthcare, especially because without the health records, it's very, very difficult for you to treat the patients. So that is one a big impact that we'll have to face, or cost we'll have to pay if a ransomware attack happens. And penalties, as we said, if the as regulators are always, or regulations are spread across globally based on the location and the country that we are based out in, that particular regulatory requirement we'll have to face, and based on the penalties we would have to pay the cost. That is another huge cost involved in ransomware attack. And others are, in case if the application or the infra that they are going to hack, once we come out of the attack, we'll have to pay a huge sum to upgrade the system, or to ensure the current controls are strengthened to avoid any future attack. So again, there is a cost involved in this. And last but not the least, the customer repetition and the impact, and the kind of business relationship that we have with the customer goes down. The trust basically goes down of fearing of their data protection, right? So these are all a huge cost that is involved in when a ransomware attack happens. So now these are all different, let's see, different types of ransomwares. How do they what are they named, and how, if you hear any names over there, for you to understand, I've come up, or I've given you the types of ransomwares here. There are two types. One is the crypto ransomware, and one is the locker ransomware. Crypto is encryption of data, completely encrypted. You would have heard about WannaCry. Is out of this three, the crypto locker and CTB locker and WannaCry. WannaCry is one of the frequently occurring ransomware attack, where the data would be encrypted, and to decrypt that, where you have to pay a huge cost. And the other side is the locker ransomware, and here you would have heard more about the Locky and Petya, because there the data or the complete network would be locked. There would be a key for it, which unless we pay the ransom, it would not be unlocked. So these are the two types of ransomwares that I would like to give you a heads up on. Now, let's see what are the trends. What are the trends in the market, and how is it increasing on a day-to-day basis, right? So if you see here, in the last 1 year, if you see the country-wise that I've given, which is published in May 2021, the below left-hand side bottom corner, because the others are self-explanatory. This I just wanted to quote here is United States. United States has become one of the key prey for the criminals, because on a day-to-day basis, we are hearing about the ransomware attacks, or we are hearing about the data breaches. Whatever you hear, we are hearing out of 10, you would definitely find a minimum 7 to 8 from US only, because that's the level of threat that has significantly increased, especially during the COVID period. If you see this chart over here, it is in the number 1 position, United States. And then definitely India comes in the 6th or 7th position. This is average ransom that is occurred and paid by the organizations across the globe. Okay, just to give you a heads up on that. And moving on, whenever a ransomware attack happens, we are talking about different means and different types, and what is the cost involved. But how do we handle from an end-to-end perspective when a ransomware attack happens? So that's the flowchart that I've given you over here, just for your reference. When an incident happens, what is the next step? So what are the steps involved? If you have it, yes. If it is not there, what would you do? The actions are well explained in this flowchart for your reference. And when a ransomware attack happens, what should you do to your system? Yes, I have an attack. The criminal has called me and he is demanding for so, but what will I do with the system that is impacted? So if you see on the right hand side corner, these are the few steps that you'll have to take on a sequence that is given. First, isolate the infected system from the network. If first you'll have to analyze where the impact is, where did it arise from, and what are all the systems that is impacted. You'll have to analyze that and isolate those systems from the network. Will be the first step. And next step would be identify what kind of lock is that. You identify what kind of data is lost, or what kind of data you are unable to access, and what kind of error it is giving. Identify the type of the issue. Okay, and once you identify it, contact the authorities. Authorities in the sense can be internal and external, because in US specifically, if it's going to be any kind of such attacks, FBI basically get involved with the organizations to work with them and partner with them to see what next steps and how do they have to handle, and how it has to be communicated to the media. Till that level, the steps have to be taken to ensure you are protected, and you are taking the right steps at the right time. Okay, so the next is removing the malware. Yes, if you're if you have the controls in place, if you are able to recover the data, please go ahead. But if you're not able to recover data, definitely there comes there where the victim has to pay and then restore the data. But if you are able to remove the malware and restore the system, well and good. And the next step is you have to analyze the data loss and use backups to recover data, scanning and improving the infrastructure, or upgrading the systems. is the key steps that you have to take when a ransomware attack or any kind of cybercrime happens. So that's a chart given over here, or the picture that is defined. Now, so let's start off with, before I go ahead, I'll just look at the charts. If you have any queries, I'm not seeing the chat window. If you have any queries, or else, Nazir, is there any queries, because I'm unable to open? Where is the chat? Okay. Okay, if there are no queries, we are just going to get into the workshop. So what I mean by workshop is just creating a scenario and see what are the steps, or what comes to your mind. This is a scene that is developed, and this is what has occurred in my network, and based on the scenario or the module that we are going to have in the first slide, the next slide will have the follow-up question to see how we will be able to respond. Okay, if you want to share any pointers, please do put in the chat or raise your hand, so that you'll be unmuted and we can discuss on the same. Okay, so here the incident begins. So by 10:05 a.m. in the morning, the information security manager notices someone has attempted to access multiple IT services from within the company firewall. So on investigation, it is determined that it may be an unauthorized access via a senior manager's laptop. The information security manager reports this to his manager. Okay, this is a simple start off that when the information security manager feels there is some kind of an access which is unauthorized and it coming from a senior manager's laptop, so he reports this to the manager. So at this point, do you feel the situation is a threat, and what actions should happen next? And what should the IT management do with this information, or what level of analysis should the IT team do when they come across or they get any kind of ticket? Even our corporates, or we would have seen in an organization, when they find any kind of phishing emails or anything suspicious, anything that they find is not authorized, they would definitely raise a ticket. So what level of analysis, or what level of steps that an organization should take? And do we have a process defined in our system? And what is the level at which we will inform our senior management or involve the management team in this? So this is the set of questions that comes up in our mind when this particular based on the small module that we just discussed. So having known the situation, what will be the what is coming up next is around 11:50 a.m. Further investigation shows that access was gained to one of the file storage servers where PII, or the personal identifiable information of the clients, is stored. That's where that's the level of access that is pertained by the perpetrator or the cyber criminal. And now the IT is trying to determine if the data was copied and stolen. So the intention, or the main purpose of having this workshop is for us to give a little food to our thoughts. If any incident that occurs in our environment, how would we be handling? Are we having the controls in place, and we know what to do next, and our team knows how controls are in place? Okay. Now, here the incident begins. By 10:05 a.m. in the morning, the information security manager notices someone has attempted to access, multiple IT services within the company firewall. So when he noticed that, he understood that it is through an unauthorized access via senior manager's laptop. So once he identified that, he informed the same to his manager. So this is the situation. So he identified some unauthorized access across multiple IT services, and he's reported this to his manager. So once this is informed, is this situation a threat? What would the first thing that comes into our mind? What action should happen, and what level of analysis we should do? Do we have to inform the help desk, raise a ticket, or is there a process that is defined in our incident response plan? We already have it defined, and we know how to do next. Do we involve the management or notify the management at this point? So these are the set of basic questions that comes up when a situation like this arises. Let's see what is happening next. Okay, so around 11:50 a.m. in the morning, they were investigating, and further to their investigation, they find out, the criminals or the hackers have gained access to their file storage servers, and sensitive client information and the PIA has been, copied or stolen. Okay, so once the IT is now trying to determine, if the data is copied or stolen, and when they are doing that, then a IT networking team also gets a notification that, or reports that, there's the complete network has gone down. It is slowing down, and they may have to raise an incident. So once this has been told, once they are trying to analyze the situation, how the data, how the client data has been copied or stolen, and why is the network is getting slowed down simultaneously. When the ticket is they come across a ticket raised by an employee that that the employee is unable to access the internet portal, or the internal portal that they use on an ongoing basis. To when we are working from home, we use that, right? So just to access the internal portal to continue their business. So the employee is unable to access the portal that's come up as a ticket, and the information security manager realizes that there is some kind of a DDoS attack. So there are two incidents, or two parallel incidents that's happening. One is not sure if the client data and the personal data is copied or stolen, and second is the employee is unable to access the intranet portal. Okay, so this is the situation, and based on this situation, so who is going to control and manage the situation? Are both similar? Are both going to be controlled by one team, or there are different teams, and our structure is defined, and right from the RACI, the complete roles and responsibilities defined in our process, and we have a process in place. That is first. Second is, will the client be informed at this point, because they are still doubtful if the client data is stolen or copied. However, will the client be informed, and how will that phase be managed, and who will be informing that? And do we involve the law or the legal team at this point of time? As the two incidents are recurring, who are the two teams? Is going to be the security team who's going to be responsible for that, or the IT team is responsible, or the management is accountable? So who takes the own? Okay, and another question that arises is, as this is happening, will the company's reputation get in fact impacted? And if it's going to go, so who would be the right point of contact, who would be involved in ensuring the communications happen on an ongoing basis, or in the right manner, in the right phase? So these are the set of questions that comes up, and how do you handle the situation? Okay, now so having known the situation till now, there is another situation that arises by 4:45 p.m. in the evening. A client calls her account manager and informs them that they have received a call from a criminalist and are being blackmailed. The caller is demanding $500 million in Bitcoin to stop the release of secret information stolen from your servers. The client has informed, or even involved FBI and their legal team. Now, there is a point comes, in the previous slide, or the previous, situation which happened, we were not sure if we have to inform the client, or, if what, no, we have different purviews. We have to, or we shouldn't be involving the client. But as I said in the beginning of the session itself, nowadays the criminals are taking two ways. One is, demanding from us at an organization level, and they also, approach the clients parallelly, in letting them know that their, data is being hacked from so and so company, and they have the data. If they are not going to pay so much, they're going to, release their data, or leave it, get it sold, or expose the data. So that is when that is becoming more critical, and more high nowadays, because this has happened in few of the cases that I've seen recently, right? So the client gets a call from when the client gets a call from the criminalist, our organization becomes more more threatened, or it's in more danger, because we will not take much time to see if we will be able to recover or back up based on our the data which is already available, and we can restore the data, or we can recover the data and we can restore the data. So that is when the criminals are taking two ways. One is, data, we will not get much time for that because the client is involved, because the criminals has directly approved. How are we going to handle that? The situation, who is in control of the entire situation with the data breach and the client issue and the DDoS? There are three different issues over here, right? One is accessing the internet portal. Second is the data that has been stolen, and third is the client involvement and the ransom that they are demanding. Could all these even be connected and handled similarly, or there are different ways that we can handle? And how will the client, FBI, and legal team be communicated and managed? Do we have the communication team agile and prepared for doing such communication? And if we know we have to pay the ransomware, how will you do the Bitcoin? Do we invoke the cyber insurance? Do we have the cyber insurance in place? And do we know how to convert it into Bitcoins? These are the set of questions. So while we were discussing about that point, we get another call or another situation that comes in by 5:30 p.m. Okay, so that's nothing but the InfoSec manager determines the original security breach occurred when the senior manager opened a link, a phishing email, right, or malicious email, and having known that loaded a Trojan virus onto the system or onto the machine, the DDoS attack has slowed and the network flow has returned to normal levels. The FBI working directly with the client to resolve the blackmail attempt. So that means it's almost coming to a closure without paying the ransom. It's not the same case, everywhere. But at this point, for this scenario, having known what is where it arised from, uploading the Trojan, they have, overcome that. And the FBI is working with the client to resolve the blackmail attempt and where it is coming from. So having the situation, we have some follow-ups here. So how can this type of data breach be avoided in the future, and what was the full impact of DDoS attack, and how was this mitigated, and is the crisis over? So this is an important question. Is the crisis over? Because once the criminalist or the hackers get access to our system, it doesn't mean once we are back to normalcy, or we are paying a ransom, or they are unlocking our data or decrypting our data. That's not the end. Because once they are able to exploit the data, it wouldn't take them much time to come back again and reattack. That has been happening in some scenarios as well. But how do we ensure that that is being avoided and that is being handled? I've given some security measures over here, how to reduce and how to overcome such issues, or how we can avoid such attacks in our environment. Awareness is one of the key element, because it's not that always there is a perception that InfoSec team is end-to-end management and only they have to know everything from end to end. No, each and every personnel in our organization, right from a software engineer or a fresher till the CEO of the company, everybody owns the data and they have access to some level of information, and they are exposed to the network, right? So it is each and everyone have to be aware how we have to handle if we receive any emails, or if we receive any calls, or if we have access to any network. How do we have to handle that? There has to be a training and awareness sessions or campaigns that is happening on an ongoing basis. It is an ongoing activity and there is no end for it. That is one thing that we have to keep in mind. And the second is user interface is nothing but there is a lot of one sample to take under this is there's a lot of history that is being used across the organizations with only Active Directory or SSO logins, because that has become outdated. And as nowadays, definitely, yes, the organizations are moving towards MFA using CyberArk or SailPoint, yes, but we'll have to ensure that we have that enabled in our system, because nowadays MFA plays a major role, because the SSO or the Active Directory doesn't work, and due to which recently, even in June, there were 11 to 12 attacks based on only this access related attacks. I know they were able to hack the passwords, and they were able to occupy the network and raise a ransomware. Okay, so please be cautious and understand what are the different kinds of applications that is prevailing in our network, what level of access is given to, they have restricted access, or our team is having controls over the systems. Okay, next one is the perimeter. Perimeter is nothing but, as you were just stating in the scenario, third parties are not easy to handle, because there are different types of deliverables or services that is available in the market, like IaaS or PaaS or SaaS, right? Like if we are using that that application and that is getting hosted in a example I'm taking, okay, in a third party's network, we are not sure how protected is their environment, and is the data that we are working on is well protected and well secured in the vendor's atmosphere. So we'll have to ensure that mostly or majoritarily we reduce or have some cut on the external connections, right? We have to ensure, if you're having any kind of partnerships or alliances with the third parties, the kind of security manner that not only internally we have to be enabled and strong, it has to be done or it has to be there on the third party's end as well, because we are, at the end of the day, it is not the processor who's going to own the issue, it is the controller, because we are the controllers for the client and we had direct contact with them, and not the third parties whom we are working with. So we'll have to always be cautious about the integrity and the confidentiality of the data. And then the next is the monitoring. As we all know, on an ongoing basis, we'll have to ensure our applications are not outdated, they are upgraded, and they are configured in a sequential or a organized manner. And we have the patch updates and the testings. Specifically, I'll call out the exercise over here, like a tabletop exercise or the simulations that it is happening across the organizations. Definitely we'll have to ensure that it happens, because it gives a space for all our teams to understand how much are we in control, are there any spaces where we are weak at, and how we can improve and mitigate the same. Okay, that is one of the important feature or the component that we will have to have in our plan, in our process that we are having within our network, because doing exercise and simulation gives is very effective in understanding and handling a situation. Okay, now I've given here some of the tools in practice for analyzing the malwares, or to identify what kind of issues are arising. And here are some of the references. Okay, the references here, I'm giving you some of the incident handling guidelines and templates for training and exercises, and plans and capabilities. And I've also included the CISA. CISA has released a ransomware readiness assessment recently, so the link is given over here to do a self-assessment, and a roadmap to prevent ransomware, and some statistics of ransomware which occurred in 2021 and 2020 for your reference, and to understand how is it happening in the market. So this is for your reference, and this is not developed by Kavitha, but definitely it's from different sources, and all these are shared with you for your reference and good practices only. Okay, and so that's it from my side. Any queries, open up for the session. However, just to give you a heads up, there is 2 slides that I've included in the appendix on common type of attacks, and how we can defend, or defense models, and best practices to protect from cyber threats. Okay, so this is for your reference only. And if there are any queries, please do let me know. I'll be happy to address.